Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending for where you are tuning in today to watch us. You are welcome. Welcome to another edition with Mamlakak Broadcast Network, and I am your host for today, Ambassador Veronique Lawson, coming to you live right here from our local studio in Dallas area. Yes, today we are in for another big treat with you. I tell you, this one is a good one. I'm pretty sure you are going to be taking a lot of note, and you are going to be saying, wow, I didn't know about this. Wow, I didn't know about that. Exactly. Because we have chosen today a special guest all the way from Abu Dhabi, who is going to discuss about this topic, what we didn't know about autism. But prior for me to even introduce our guest to you from her own sketch biography, maybe I would like my producer, if possible, to highlight the book that she released. I think this year, she released a book, I Cracked the Autism Code. What we didn't know about autism and the ADHD that changes everything. So fasten your seatbelt, have your notepad and your pen to take a lot of notes. And you can also ask some questions if you be prompt to. But now let me introduce you to our guest from her own biography. Roma is author of the book, I Cracked the Autism Code, What We Didn't Know About Autism and ADHD that changes everything. She is a very passionate person, a goal-driven advocate of human potential and purpose. She has lived with autism her entire life and eventually cracked the mystery of autism in order to live up to her full potential in life. Through writing, she intends to create a worldwide awareness and understanding of autism to improve the quality of life of people on the spectrum. Roma has a bachelor degree with honors in psychology. She is an avid fitness enthusiast who spent a lot of time studying self-development courses. She has a cat named Espresso, oh my gosh, who she claims are more friend than her. Roma was born and raised in Klerksdorp, South Africa, where her love for trail race started, and currently she resides in Abu Dhabi, where she works as a fitness coach and professional. Please let the world know who Roma is and about this book, I Cracked the Autism Code, what the world didn't know about autism. Ambassador Roma, welcome. Welcome to the stage. Welcome.
Hi, Veronique. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. It's an honor. I remember when we met about 9 years ago, we were in Israel, and I was freshly discovering about, the kingdom and my purpose in the kingdom. And that's actually where everything started, my whole pursuit to crack this code. Before I wanted to, I made a vow as a teenager to teach the professionals how my brain works. But it's really once I understood my purpose that I had the inspiration to really pursue the knowledge. And I believe God helped me to crack this code. And I believe it's going to change the whole approach towards autism and even ADHD in the future. So I am very grateful to have my first interview with you today. I would not have chosen it any other way.
So beautiful to hear that, Ambassador Roma. Wow. And we would like to really know more about that book. What really prompted you to write, as you say, because your biography actually says it, that you suffer autism almost your entire life. So at what point of your life that you think that this was a time that you really, this book need to be written and they have to be out there? Just for you just to a little bit elaborate on that before we even further go to other question. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronique. So I always knew, I know it sounds kind of like a cliche, everyone feels that way, but I always knew I was different. Or let me say it this way, other people were different, or I just had a different way of thinking. I didn't really think there's anything wrong with me. I just had a very hard time adjusting in my social environment. Things were looking big, things like I was hypersensitive to touch. All my senses are super sensitive, and I could not keep up with social conversations. I could not understand everything that other people apparently understand between themselves that I don't. So I wasn't sure there was anything that I'm missing. I thought they were a mystery. And then as I got older, at one point I could not focus well in school, and they thought that I had ADHD. So ADHD was the closest to an explanation I had at the time for what I was experiencing, but I noticed that the description didn't fit me exactly. So I was actually, and I said this at the beginning of my book, I went through a knee operation. I injured myself during a hockey game, and somehow the doctor did not numb my leg properly. So I was in extreme pain. And, sometimes when you're in extreme pain, you kind of have like sort of a near death experience, or at least you think you have one. And at that point in the hospital, I was thinking, I need to teach people. There are more people like me, and clearly whatever I have is completely misunderstood. And I need to figure out what it is, and I need to help the professionals and teach them how to understand people like me. So that's where I understood that there was a diagnosis somewhere. I went on and I studied psychology just to understand people better, and to be able to eventually crack the code. I did not find my answers there. So and eventually, so I was always very so you probably know people on the spectrum, we have restricted interest. Like we get obsessed with with a topic, and we just run with it. So my topic of obsession was God, always is. And I wanted to understand the mind of God. And I got to learn at one point as an adult that and this is what I understand best, is that what God needs from us on earth is to understand who he created us to be uniquely, and to live our purpose. And each of us have a different purpose. So it became then my pursuit, and to number one pursuit, to understand my purpose. And I the books of Dr. Miles Monroe actually helped me. It asked the correct questions so that I could dig deep into myself. And what I found was that I was always meant to write songs, to sing, to dance. And it was so far from me. It was not something I could do, because Veronique, when I sang, it's monotone. It's just, it doesn't come out. It feels like it's like a broken microphone. And then when I'm dancing, I also cannot express myself, or at least I cannot show what I need to show on my face and express at the same time and hear the music. So I then I learned that. So I became very, very open to understand what makes me different than other people. So I really wanted to know what I can not do that they can do. So I was literally on fault finding mode, seeing what I do wrong or different. And it was in a yoga class that my movements was very awkward, like especially the fluent movements. I couldn't do them. And so I started asking questions and searching Google, which is probably not the best place to look, but I came to understand that I have something called sensory integration dysfunction, and I'm sensitive to fine touch, and that affects my movement, and I'm sensitive in my, in the hearing and the audit, meaning a smelling, any sense. So, and then the next thing I found out, actually, sensory integration dysfunction is something that people with autism have. And I was like, no, this cannot be. So keep in mind, this was 6 years ago only. I was 31. And I was like, no, this can't be. I cannot have autism. Like my idea of autism, like, no, this can't be true. And really within myself, I was just trying to avoid, which I probably unconsciously, I mean, subconsciously knew. And I read the description and I understood that's exactly me. Long story short, flew to the States to a specialist who evaluated me and found out that, I mean, told me, yeah, definitely I'm on the spectrum. I'm just very high functioning. And so I flew back. And then I decided, okay, now I have a description of what I'm dealing with. So people on the spectrum, they often have, a hard time with social interaction, eye contact, stuttering. Those are the things, the main things. So I listed them: insistence on sameness, restricted interest, sensory integration dysfunction, as I just mentioned, and they have repetitive behaviors and stimming. So if you know what stimming is, we often rock back and forward, or when we're nervous, we like tap our hands. So this kind of thing, and trouble understanding the wider context of a conversation or just things in general. We just get parts of a conversation or a topic sometimes, and understanding like to empathize. So I had a list. So now I started checking, okay, what does other people, what can they do that I can't do? And so on the long story short, I came to understand that they can multitask during conversation in a way that I can't. So I asked a colleague of mine who was she was busy at the time, so I knew she would not ask me a lot of questions. So I could just observe her. So I asked her. She was busy in the kitchen, just in our break room, and she was just doing her own thing, studying and working. And I was observing her because I had to observe now the neurotypical person. What makes him different? Again, different. This was only 6 years ago. And I looked at her and I noticed there's a lot going on of emotion in her face. And while she's typing, I'm like, this is odd. It looks like she can do more than one thing at a time, which is very strange to me. This is very interesting. So I asked her, and I actually interrupted her, but I was just so desperate to crack this code, what they can do that I can't. I asked her, can you hear my words? And I think the first thing I asked her, can you hear my words and see my face at the same time, my facial expression? And she looked up and she said yes. And she looked down and she continued. And I was shocked. I was so shocked because I cannot do that for sure. I cannot do that. So, and then again, I was just sitting in shock and I was looking at her again and I was asking her, okay, can you hear my words, see my facial expression and hear my tone of voice at the same time? And she looked up and she said, yes. And she looked down and she continued, with what she was doing. I was shocked. It's like hearing, it's like me asking you, Veronique, if you can fly, and you tell me yes, you have a flying horse in your backyard and you can fly. It was so surreal. I could not believe it. And also just thinking, not just her. This must be neurotypicals who can do that. That's not only her. This is was very surprising and shocking to me. And I eventually got the courage to ask, okay, can you hear my words, see my face, see my hear my tone of voice, see my body language, and still know what's going on in the room? And she said yes. I was too afraid to ask anything else. I said thank you very much, and I ran out of the room. So, so this was shocking to me, and then I understood. Wow, okay, so 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 it took me a while to understand. Okay, what's the actual difference here? And it took about a month just to settle down from the shock. But then I came to understand that neurotypicals, and I'm saying neurotypicals because this people don't like the word normal, and neither do I, because we don't know what, there's no normal really. So neurotypical simply means you're not autistic or have ADHD. So I got to understand that neurotypicals can multitask with conscious tasks. So there are two kind of tasks, and that is automatic tasks and conscious tasks. That's it. So for example, if I'm driving a car and I'm switching gears, that's automatic. I don't have to think of it because I'm used to it. My body knows exactly what to do. It doesn't require my conscious attention. To walk is automatic. I don't have to think what I'm doing. It's automatic. To breathe is automatic. To blink is automatic. I don't have to think of it. I just do it. So these are automatic tasks, and this is the reason why I believe the professionals could not figure this out earlier. It's because we can multitask, but we can multitask. And when I say we, I'm talking about people with autism. We can multitask, but we can multitask with automatic tasks. But things that require attention, for example, so I said walking is automatic, but watching where you're going, that requires attention. Because you need to interpret what's in front of you. It requires interpretation. So talking, for example, and this is exactly why social interaction and communication is so tricky for someone on the spectrum, is because it involves so much conscious multitasking. So, for example, as I discovered and just shared with you, so during conversation, people are listening to words that requires attention because you need to interpret what you're hearing, to look at the face and to understand what the face is telling you. That requires concentration, interpretation. So that's also a conscious task. To look at the body language and interpret that, that also requires interpretation. And to understand, to see and know what's going on in the room, like just the context or whatever's going on, that requires attention and concentration too. So tone of voice, even to understand it and what people mean with a certain kind of tone, that's interpretation. So people who are neurotypical, who don't have autism or ADHD, they can do all these things at the same time. So they can read the face, hear the words, understand the voice tone, the body language, and see multiple things and know what's going on and hear their own thoughts all at the same time. So here's the thing, people with autism and It's not only me. I learned that it's the same with everyone else I met and asked or tested, you can say, who has autism. They can only do one of those things. So, for example, when I'm listening to you, I can either hear your words, see your face, see your body language, or hear your tone of voice. I can do no two of those things at the same time. So what this means is while I'm listening to you, I'm blind, literally. Not even black blind. I don't register anything else than what I'm hearing. So I don't see your facial expression. I don't hear a tone of voice. I don't see your body language. And I definitely don't know what else is going on in the room. I can't even listen to my own thoughts. So I am technically in your brain almost. So your world becomes mine when I'm listening to you,
Wow.
literally. So so um, so you can understand how social interaction is so tricky for someone on the spectrum, especially if you don't know. So like before, I didn't. You might remember me very differently when I communicated before. When I met you 9 years ago, I wasn't fluent. I was, straight face and very different, at least on a social level, and it's just because interaction was so complicated. Um, so I can give you an example. So when we went on the Israel trip, we all went into a fish shop. There was a restaurant who makes fish. I don't know if it was called Peter's Fish or something. It was a famous place. And everyone went and sat on a big table. We had a big table for everyone, for the whole group. I do not know how many people, I think over 20, and everyone sat down, and literally there was one chair missing. So the restaurant waiters must have miscounted one. I did not have the social, how can I say, either intelligence or guts to ask and tell them, listen, I'm with this group. Can you fit me in with them? Something I literally, it was easier for me. So I just told them I'm supposed to sit. I sat by myself at a different table, literally, just for several reasons. Just communication was so hard, and okay, no one. I was so far away that no one could see me. I'm sure if anyone saw me, they would have, pulled me closer. That was not the point. But just to give you an idea of how, lonely it can get in a person with autism's world, and also it was probably much easier also for me to just be by myself because I don't know what's going on in the conversation. Yeah, so I miss so many things. So I gotta tell you one thing, Veronique. Autism these days, so it used to just be called autism. These days, it's been called a spectrum, just because people on the spectrum, meaning people with autism, they can have, meaning they display autism so differently. They have the same things in common. They definitely have problem with social interaction and communication, and with they have repetitive behavior, restricted interest, but some of them are very, very high functioning, can live on their own, very successful. It's believed and almost very much um, proven that Einstein, Mozart, Isaac Newton, even Elon Musk, someone like Sia, the singer Sia, they are on the spectrum. They're very high functioning. So very often there's not always anything wrong with our intelligence. Some of us can be disabled, and others can need a lot of help. Some of us develop more. So this is why it's called a spectrum. The spectrum really just is to show how, or to recognize how different we can display autism, but we all, like I say, have these certain things in common. There's social interaction and the restricted interest. And so where was I at? So what I was saying is, so my intelligence in school, just so for the awareness of people, in general about autism, I was one of the smartest kids in the school. Not only in the school, I would win like math competitions in the district. So I was highly intelligent. But here's the thing, my social intelligence was very low. So this is the best way I can describe it. So it's almost like having this person who's mature in terms of intelligence, but on a social level, and that goes over to the emotional level sometimes too. I was probably, until 6 years ago, I was probably, I would say, between 5 and 9, depending on the day. Just my social intelligence in terms of understanding people's feeling, what they mean. I really didn't get it. But you can ask me that, like anything in my school books or whatever, brilliant. I test genius on IQ tests. Sorry. So this is also why it's so confusing sometimes to understand autism. Yeah. So because it's not visible to the eye, but so now you can, if you understand that it's really so before it was, sorry, hopping back and forth, before it was treated, up until now, it was very much treated as a neuro brain, meaning brain, social problem. So as if we have problems, with social interaction, and we do have, as a result of not being able to multitask during conversation. So it was very, so people would, like during so therapies would try and teach us to keep eye contact, how to not stutter, try to get us to take interest in other people's feelings. So you can see how the wrong problem was treated. It was treated as if we have our restricted interests and we're smart. We only care about these things, but we don't care about people's feelings, to make eye contact, to listen to them. And whereas you just came to understand that actually when I'm listening to you, even when I'm looking down, your whole world is mine. I can't think of anything. I can't do anything. I can't see your face. So it's easier, meaning the most logical thing is just to look away and listen, So now if we understand what the real problem is, then we can. So basically, I just keep an eye level, but while I'm talking to you, and by the way, my body language is automatic, so I don't have to think of it. So that's why I can use my hands and move my face while talking, but I don't know what it's doing exactly because it's automatic. Yeah. So you see more than I see. So another reason why communication is so terrifying for us, because it's like you can see more than we can about ourselves. It's like, So anyway, I'll give you an example, and then I'll let you ask the questions or talk again. So I had a client, and this was a fitness client, a client of mine. He was 25 years old at the time. This was a few years ago, and he was undiagnosed, but clearly on the spectrum. He didn't mind me sharing, so he's happy with me sharing.
That's great.
He was stuttering. So when I first started training him, he was stuttering to the point that he cannot get a word out. So to like this. So you'd see that very often in with people with autism. It's quite common, for us to do stuff like, not being able to communicate, and then anxious, anxiety attack, and so on. And but this guy was brilliant. Like he had, I think he had a master's degree already at the time. in business management, like a brilliant guy, but on the communication level, was just so tricky. So by that time, I already cracked the code and understood. So I asked him, hey, can you quickly look down and tell me what you want to say? So he looked down and he spoke fluently. He told me what he wanted to say, and he looked up at me, and I told him, I believe you're trying to read my face and hear my words at the same time. And I believe you can't do that. I can't do that either. So from now on, whenever you listen to anyone, forget about their faces or anything else in the room. Only talk when you talk, or only listen to their words when you listen to their words. When they stop talking, or you stop talking, you can look at their face as much as you want. Guess what, Veronique? He never stuttered again. This
Wow.
guy had therapy since he was little. So, so
Wow.
you, so you, so you see how the whole therapy of autism changes, even meaning just in that regard, even by understanding, by treating the right problem, you know. So also, so the stuttering is gone now. And then, so I told him also, listen, it will help you socially if you keep the eye level. You don't have to worry, think of, meaning read the face while you're talking or while you're listening, but just put your eyes to other people's eyes, because they will know you're listening to them. So 2 problems solved: stuttering, eye contact, done. So, okay. Another problem people with autism have, sorry, I said I was going to let you talk, but since I'm talking about the same person, I'll give you one more. So he was having a lot of sensory overload, you know, when the gym, especially when the gym gets busy or his day was long, the lights would get sharp, the sounds would get loud, you know. So you'd see people with autism sometimes in public, especially when we get anxious. We do this, and the reason for that, I'll tell you real fast, is that so since the brain only does one conscious thing at a time, when we're anxious, we don't have the luxury of choosing where to focus our only attention. So whatever the strongest sensation is that's going to come in, for example, if there's a sharp light or there's a specific sound, that's the only thing our brain will hear or do. We cannot switch anymore to something else. So that makes sense to you why we get so overloaded. You cannot imagine how loud the simplest thing can get. Like I was saying in the book, even like a little bug doing this with its feet. If that's the only thing you hear, you cannot imagine how loud that is. And believe me, when you have that focused hearing, you can hear that, because that's all I can do. I don't hear anything else in the room. So it drives us nuts. It's things like a clock. So anyway, so this client, so I told him on a practical level. So when he got overloaded in the gym, I told him, listen, I noticed that you cannot, while you're telling me a story, you cannot hear the other people in the gym. So I figured out, okay, fine. If we can't multitask, that means we can also not, we don't have to get overloaded as much as we do. So I told him, okay, if the gym is busy, especially while we're doing something or we're resting, just talk, because you can't hear, or switch your attention. So that helps. So for example, something like a vacuum would overload me completely sometimes, because it's so sharp. It's like blowing a whistle in a dog's ear. And believe me, my senses are more sharp than any animal I've ever met. Yes, I smell things that my cat cannot smell. I hear
Wow.
things my cat cannot hear. Or any. I can be a police dog, literally. Literally, this is
Wow.
how,
That's
if the brain, if I can focus the brain. So this is
yeah.
the superpower part. But if you literally give me, I don't know what cocaine smells like, for example, because I never been in touch with it. But if you tell me this is the smell, find it. I will have to go on a floor like a dog. Yes, it won't make sense, but I can find that smell, no problem. Like, you cannot imagine so how strong the senses are. So I will not, but anyway, so bottom line, this client of mine, it was life changing for him, because he could better function, and now he could finally work, if before he could not work. So back to you, Veronique. Thank you for listening.
Wow, my goodness, Ambassador Roma Swanepoel. What you just shared is so profound, and it shows how we, especially the medical practices, should not be so quick to try to deal with the problem as a general, because it affects people individually, and we are all unique, correct? So as
Yes.
God created us unique, I'm pretty sure that the medical practices supposed actually to treat the patient in such a unique way, and not just giving a general, a general medicine, or a general um, uh, um,
Diagnosis, you mean? Yeah.
diagnosis, right? So as you were sharing, I understood that autism, the way it affect people differently. You just brought it perfectly. You gave the differentiation, how people perceive, and by naming Beethoven, Mozart, by naming also Elon Musk, by naming also what's the name of the guy, the Jewish guy, Albert Einstein. All of
Yes.
those, which we know today, are very, very smart people. So autism, actually, people could be very smart, but they have something somewhere. And you went on and cracked that neurotypical brain code.
Yes.
So I know that you have walked through the question that was asked, the first one. Can you expand on the understanding of autism, which you did? So now the second question we're about to ask you is that, what is ADHD? And can
Okay.
you share a little bit on that mystery? I know you touched a little bit on your first question, on your first part, but if you could quickly give us the definition of ADHD and the mystery, because that was what you crack, correct?
Yes.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Exactly. So I gotta say, so remember the time when I made the decision as a teenager, I'm gonna crack this code, I was incorrectly, well, and informally diagnosed with ADHD, and so it was. So I was almost more proud that I cracked the ADHD code than I was with the autism code. Maybe because it's not directly me, but also because I really thought I had to crack the ADHD code. So when I understood the understood autism, and exactly what we cannot do that others can, um, I was thinking, and I told my sister, I was just thinking, man, I can do one thing at a time. So I switch all day long between, so during conversation, I switch between the face, I switch between to the words, and mostly the words. But whenever I get a chance, I look at the face, I try to interpret it in combination with the words. I try to see a bit what's going on, maybe around, and just get a wider context. But the bottom line is I switch the whole time, but I switch between one thing. So it very much empowered me, because now it removed some of my anxiety. I'm switching. And then I thought by myself, and I told my sister this, if I could do two conscious things at a time, I would be ADHD. If I could, for example, hear the words and see the face, those are two conscious things. And the next thing I have to switch between, choose what do I listen to next, or get next. Do I look at the body language and again the words at the same time? Meaning I'm swapping two tasks for two tasks. I'm no longer switching one to one thing, which I got pretty good at, that would be very hard because it's like juggling. And I thought, okay, and three, if that was three things, I would be a mess. Like I would be hyperactive and ADHD, meaning literally no attention, and hyperactive. So I told her that. So I had a hypothesis, I think that's the word, that people with ADHD can do 2 or 3 things at a time. I thought that, very often people on the spectrum, their siblings can have ADHD. So it seemed like, and sometimes the symptoms overlap. They get, people with ADHD very often have also sensory integration dysfunction, meaning hypersensitive senses, and restricted interest. Well, they simply call it fixed sensations. They get fixed with a certain topic. They change it again, but it's very similar to restricted interest. Bottom line, there's an overlap, but slightly different, very different actually, way of manifestation. So, but I thought we were dealing with the same sort of condition brain-wise. So I had this client, and this is how I cracked or confirmed the ADHD code. And she told me, okay, she's also happy with me sharing. She told me, listen, I have ADHD. And so I was just observing her. And this was very recently. This was the end of last year. So I think less than, oh goodness. This was just before I published my book. I'm sorry, this was the beginning of the year, right before I published the book. And I saw her, I was talking to her in the gym, and while she was drinking coffee and I was talking to her, she threw the coffee out over her. Now, this would mean nothing to anyone else, it just whatever. But I spotted something there which I suspected, and I asked her, listen, can you, do you think you just spilled the coffee over you because I distracted you? And she said, I don't know, maybe. So I asked her, can you hear my words and see my face at the same time? And she very proudly said, yes. And I asked her, okay, can you hear my words, see my facial expressions, and hear my tone of voice at the same time? And she said, no. Well, actually cursed, but she said, hell no, but something like that. But she can definitely not do that. So long story short, she's very shocked when I explained to her, listen, people who don't have ADHD or autism, they can actually, hear your words, see your face, facial expression, hear your tone of voice, see what's around you all at the same time. So then I got to understand this is true. And I called a friend, and it turned out he could do 3 things at the same time. She could do 2. But and ever since I've asked people with ADHD, and they all can do either 2 or 3 things at the same time. So bottom line, they're juggling between tasks. So sorry, I think I didn't explain exactly ADHD. It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's what ADHD stands for. So people with ADHD, they very much have a hard time focusing their attention on one thing. So they get distracted very much. So it's very hard for them to be in a in school, for example, to focus in a class, or just to listen to a lecturer talk, or not get distracted, meaning during daily life, as many of them also are hyperactive and are very impulsive. So and they find it very, so this affects their whole life. So it's not just a matter of sometimes, everyone sometimes have problem with attention, but people with ADHD always have a hard time focusing, and they switch their attention, they get distracted like this. So and that makes their life very, very hard. So up until now, ADHD was treated as a neuro behavioral problem, really. So they're very much, people with ADHD are very much seen as having behavioral issues. So they are being treated in therapy very often as having behavioral issues, and even in schools, and they were just taught how to focus, and thank goodness they have a medication that helps them a bit, Concerta, but only up until a certain point. So what I have to add now is that it's not behavioral problem, it becomes a behavioral problem. Because it's misunderstood, it's not treated correctly. People with ADHD should not be distracted all the time. In my opinion, they should have their own separate schools that caters for them. I believe there are more. It seems that there are more people with ADHD than autism even, and ADHD is very much underrated in its treatment, in the sense that people with ADHD, they catch up quicker with on the social level, because they can catch two things. Like I said, this client of mine, she can catch the facial expression with the words, so she gets much more information from a conversation, but they still miss a lot, and it's very hard for them to study, to become successful at what they want to. Many of them does, but it's just so hard. So it's very, and they're treated just like everyone else, like they have no disability, like they should just get their act together. This is how they treat it. Whereas really they are juggling all day long between tasks, between different things, where to focus their attention. Everything distracts them. So I very much have respect for anyone who's dealing with ADHD, and I wish I had more advice on how to help them at this stage. But what I can say is, the less you distract them while they're doing one thing at a time, let them finish it before giving them the next. That will definitely help them. I think our sound just went off, or mine did. Can I hear you there? I think
Can you hear me?
Oh, there, you're back. I can hear you.
Okay,
I can hear you.
thank you. I think that I said make my wow. Thank you for giving us that detail and the mystery behind the ADHD, which
ADHD, yes.
Yeah, which is attention deficit hyper disorder, stand
Yes,
for.
hyperactivity disorder, exactly.
Deficit hyper disorder. Wow. And people who suffer for that, I mean, even in the school system, you could see them a lot. And what you say is very critical, in a sense that today in education, we put everybody in the same class, people who have this issue and that, and at the end of the day, we expect them to perform the same level as somebody who does not have those issues. So,
exactly.
As you say, really, the education system is supposed to just have a school just for them, or maybe a classroom just for such people to be able to live in their own environment. And therefore, once they kind of finding them way so that they could be able to be also with the other people.
Yes, so they just can, get the best of their own lives too.
Exactly. That's so true. So on that note, we're going to take a minute break. And then when we come back, we're going to ask you the third question.
Great.
Thank you very much, producer, for rolling out the app.
Hola. It's time for missions. Have you connected with your divine purpose? Do you have a heart for the nations? If you do, the missions department has a space for your ministry and your passion. We have many opportunities where you can help us to reach souls and share the message of the kingdom of God. Help us during our reach opportunities in the Bahamas. And if you dream about making a global impact, we have an opportunity waiting for you. From September 27 to October 1st, 2024, you can join us for a true worship experience in Havana, Cuba. How do you know it's true? Because it will be transforming, renewing, upgrading, and empowering. Support the youth night. Adopt a child for a day. Join the influence session, or connect with businesses and access this great opportunity to donate, build, and edify the Church of God globally. Let God be glorified at Revive Cuba 2024. See you there.
See you there. Exactly. We are trying to make sure that people will be able to register to that Revive Cuba, which is coming up in September, organized by BFMI. So all the information could be found on their website, BFMI, that means By My Faith Ministry International.com or .org. I think it's .org. And you can find all the information concerning that trip coming up for Cuba if you want to be part of that. Great. So back to you again. Now we're coming to our next section on this show today. What we didn't know about autism with our special guest all the way from Abu Dhabi, Ambassador Roma Swanepoel. I hope that I'm pronouncing your name very well. And thank you again as we continue. I just want to shout out for those people who are watching live. My husband, hello, my Chatsily. And we have beautiful Jess, Queen Jess, all the way from Savannah, Georgia. I see some people, but I don't know where are they watching from. So maybe there will be people, maybe of your network, Ambassador Roma. So thank you, and thank you again. Now we are going to move on to the third question, which is, can you give us some practical step as to how your discovery can help others?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. So on the social interaction level, just force other people to understand, that we are not weird individuals and we simply just cannot multitask. If people understand us better, this helps us a lot. We get treated, not as strangely as we do, and in general. And also remember, we don't know. I know this now, but many people on the spectrum don't know that other people can actually multitask during conversation. So they don't know why social interaction is so hard for them, and not for others. So if you could explain if you know someone of autism really well, and you could explain to them, listen, other people, and this you can literally even tell to people with ADHD, is that other people who don't have autism or ADHD, they can, during conversation, they can hear the words, read the face, see the body language, know what's going on in the room, hear the tone of voice. They can do at least 13 things at the same time, focusing things. And if they could just understand that, they're going to be a little bit shocked. But then you can explain to them the implications of that. Tell them, listen, this is why conversation is so easy for others, but you need to switch between those tasks. So don't try to read the face and hear the words at the same time. And you can tell them, like I told this client of mine, keep the eye level, but forget about the face. This will make their life so much easier because people will treat them better. At least I'm a witness of that. I can tell you, people treat me a lot better if I, set my eyes on their eye level and they actually know that I'm listening to them. So this is one of the implications, practical implications that will help coming from this information, And then eye contact and stuttering. Yes, like I said, that will prevent stuttering too. And so people in general if we can help them understand that why we are so insistent on having things the same. Why don't we, like, when you change anything in the room or moving it, it's simply because we can't see and walk at the same time, so we're going to trip over it, for example. So it just helps others understand us better. So putting things in place really makes our lives a lot easier, as I said also. And as I explained to this client of mine, with the sensory, if you can explain to someone who's on the spectrum, and even some people with ADHD, listen, if you're overloaded by one sense, try to switch your sense to something else. For example, listen to a song you like, and it will help you change the focus so you don't get so overloaded. So these are some of the practical examples that could immediately help people on the spectrum, and even some people with ADHD.
Wow, that's beautiful, beautiful. And I know that you have more about that one to say, but we're going to recommend your book again for the people who are watching or those who are going to watch after the show is over, if they want to go further into discover all the mystery behind autism and how you crack autism. Please, you could find her book on Amazon.com, and her name is actually on the link that you show below. I Cracked the Autism Code, What We Didn't Know About Autism and ADHD. That changes everything. We know that you have more to share again with our audience, Ambassador Roma. What we're going to do, since we said that we allocated only 1 hour for this show today, we're going to bring you maybe next time again back so that you could continue, you could build upon where you're going to live today, and you will build upon that when I know that you have more. And in the meantime, we will recommend your book and ask the people, please buy the book and find it yourself, the mystery and how you could help somebody in your community. Maybe you have a child, maybe you have a nephew or a cousin or an aunt or whoever in your family or even your community who is suffering for autism. This is a practical book, and she explained exactly all the practical steps, how people could get healed. We don't even have to go through all those medical practices and medication that actually kill or damage your brain. Exactly. Any final remark before we wrap up the show, Ambassador Roma? Swanepoel, all the way from Abu Dhabi, please.
Yes, the audiobook is also available. So online on Amazon. So if you don't enjoy reading, that's also available for you.
Oh, that's beautiful, actually. Like they could even just read it while they're exercising, correct?
And the book is very practical, not very long, very short, but straight to the point. So very easy read.
That's so true. So on that note, that's going to be our end today. And please follow us in our various platforms. We are on YouTube. We are on True Social. We are on Facebook. We're streaming right now. We're streaming right now on Facebook and on YouTube at the same time. We are also in Reddit. We are on Podbean. We are also on, I don't know, I think that we are also on Podbean. We are in different and various how you call it, various platforms out there. Please follow us on those different various platforms, and then you will be able to find us exactly where we are on Instagram, on Twitter, on X. Today is X, is no more Twitter. And we are on True Social. True Social. Can you imagine that we are now on True Social? Wow. So you could follow us even on True Social. I tell you, we are taking every social media platform for the kingdom of God. This is going to be our end for today. Ambassador Roma Swanepoel, all the way from Abu Dhabi. I cracked the autism code, what we didn't know about autism. And please, until I see you again, let us wave and wave. Wave, 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 and the Queen salute. And I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be your last time. See you soon. Please stay on the backstage as I wrap up here. See you soon. Thank you. Stay on the backstage, please. Thank you.